everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and we're going to be painting this gorgeous fall fantasy landscape today. Now, a couple things make this a fall fantasy landscape. One, we're seeing things blooming and being in color together at times of the season when they wouldn't normally be. If you're not familiar with this type of fantasy romantic realism, an artist you might think of that does this would be like somebody like Thomas Kincaid, where you put several seasons into one space. But we are mostly honoring autumn. I'm going to be teaching this in acrylic step by step. I'm going to explain to you the materials, the colors, the reasons, the whys, the hows. My husband on the mic.
Hello.
John, sometimes also called Stunt Hands.
Sometimes.
You're only going to see his hands. He's kind of camera shy. He does a couple of things here that's super important. He turns on the equipment. so like when he was a little late returning home, it's not like I'm going to whip the show on and like go live by myself.
I'm the keeper of the on button.
He's the keeper of the on button. It's a very complicated on button. He also zooms in with our robotic cameras, make sure you guys see stuff. He reads your questions. So anything that you really need, you know, he is in charge of. This is a free full class. This is real time. This is step by step. So if you're trying to learn how to paint and you want to do a landscape, this is absolutely perfect for you. I see Nicole and Tammy and Colleen and Jamie. And Becky and Clara are in the UK. So that's kind of exciting. I also see Life with Casey and the Great Penguin, and Rebecca Hoffman and Denise and Amy. So lots of Irene and Vanessa. Once you start shouting out names, then you're like, oh my gosh, I totally understand what happens to actors at the Oscar.
Romper room.
It does, because you just want to say hi to everybody. You don't want to leave anybody out because everybody matters, right? Everybody really matters. And today, let's put a wish on our surface to put out there that everybody goes forward realizing that everybody matters.
Yeah.
You know, we've got to embrace that in our lives. That's the only way that change happens, is we have to just personally be like, you know, today, treat everybody like they matter.
Everyone.
You know, luckily we're all stuck at home, so mostly that's just us treating ourselves like we matter. But that's really the hardest one, isn't it? To treat yourself like you matter. Mm-hmm. I have my little libation here. This is coffee. I am sporting an 8x8 surface.
Are you?
Mm-hmm. This is a stretch canvas. I got actually a pack of these off of Amazon. I don't remember the brand, but I have to say I'm going to post it up soon, because after I go through the entire 16 that I purchased, if none of them suck, I might recommend them. I'm kind of fussy when I recommend stuff to you guys. I like to make sure products work through a variety of runs and at different times, because sometimes a batch is good, a batch is bad. Lots of colors on the palette today because this is such a wonderful fantasy landscape. Yellow ochre, you could use yellow oxide. Cad yellow medium, you could use Hansa yellow or primary yellow. I have Cad red light, but as you can see, it's a very orange color. So you could use Pyro orange or any orange that you have. Cad red medium. This is a red that looks like a sunset. It has a bit of fire to it instead of cool blood when you're trying to tell your reds apart. So if you're doing exchanges, you could use Naphthol red medium. You could also use a Pyro red. So there's a couple of those. And then I have quinacridone magenta. I have burnt sienna and burnt umber. You could just use one brown, but I like to have a couple sitting around because this one is obviously a little more red, and this one is obviously a little more cool, a little more blue biased. I have phthalo blue, and I have phthalo green. I have Mars black. I have titanium white and zinc white. And I like zinc because zinc lets us do a lot of effects in our painting, and so that's very, very helpful. We got our Everybody Matters wish going. Mm-hmm. And I think we should paint in the canvas. Oh my goodness, I'll have to plug in. Is my plug down here?
Is your plug plugged in?
I don't know. We'll see how long it goes. My iPad's a little, I think my plug's upstairs in my bedroom.
The thing we do. We give you this plug.
No, but I think the power cable, don't worry, it's okay.
We'll work it out.
We'll work it out, guys. We'll work it out. We're all here together. I feel like the easiest way for us to start this is to begin this with a dark neutral color like a blue-gray. Sketch in the elements of the landscape, and then paint in things from the furthest back moving forward. So we have nice layering, and also so we can create a good atmospheric perspective. Another product that you may want to have for this particular class is gloss glazing liquid. Only this brand. This is Golden Artist Color. Am I saying only this brand because Golden pays me money? No, this is not sponsored. They in no way sponsor me or endorse me or anything. Sometimes they answer my technical questions, which I do very much appreciate. But what this is, it's a unique product on the market. It's one of my top recommended products, and it's a slow drying extender for acrylic colors. Fancy words for you can use as little paint as you want in this mix, and it will still set up. And it will make your paint go longer, so you can glaze, you can do transparent things, and it slows down the drying time. All right. So that's how they say that, slow drying extender. You can buy things that slow drying down, and you can buy things that allow you to glaze and extend, but it's tough to get a product that is 2-in-1. This is a 2-in-1. So again, not sponsored. I just feel that strongly that it's a good product. Let's make a nice dark blue gray. So I'm going to take a little white to my black. The tool I'm using here is called an artist knife, sometimes referred to as a palette knife. And I'm going to make a very dark gray. And let's put a little blue into that gray just to kind of atmosphere it up. This is almost, in a sense, a Payne's then, because Payne's has a very blue cast to it. There's several formulas for Payne's gray. This is the one that I like. And I'll put whatever is left on my palette here on the canvas so as to not waste paint, because that's what we do.
That's what you do.
Somebody do. And we're going to just paint the whole surface, my friends. And I must be washing my other big brushes, so I'm going to use a mop.
Like you do.
Like you do. I'm going to get my brush. This is an oval mop. I like to use this for blending, for trees, for clouds, for all kinds of things. I'm going to be finding a new oval mop to use pretty soon. So be ready for that. I'm looking at Royal and Lang nickel. I'm looking at Princeton. I'm looking at several different brush companies to find a new oval mop to recommend. But for right now, we're just going to paint our whole surface this nice, cool gray. Doesn't this remind you of granite or slate? Something deep in nature, deep in a forest, like back in the Othello area up in Canada. That was pretty, a lot of this type of rock. This image actually reminded me of that. Interesting fun fact, it's where they filmed Rambo.
Rambo.
Which, you know, you don't think of it as like a really beautiful set, but dude, it was a really beautiful location. Terrible thing to happen in a beautiful place. This is all you need. It doesn't have to be a perfect surface. You want just a gray on that. Alicia Bedenhorst says, your hair color is amazing. I love this particular look. Thank you very much. It is also one of my favorites. I may do when the world opens back up and, you know, going to a hairdresser is more easy. I may go get Phoenix hair. I'm thinking about
Phoenix
it.
hair.
Well, Phoenix is red hair, but still a fantasy hair.
Oh.
It looks like fire.
Fire hair.
Fuego.
When can we get like
But for right now, I'm sticking here because I got a new pack of dye and everything.
we need to be able to have like fiber optics put in there so that as you go, it sparkles.
I got Mylars with little beads, and you just need to help me put them in. It's a two-person job. I haven't figured out how to talk you into it yet.
You have a
my
daughter.
husband often ends up being my hairdresser, like no lie.
But see,
So I
now
can't do the back of my head.
your daughter's now at that age. She's 15, 16.
Do you
She's
have a
at that-
16-year-old daughter, and would you let her do your hair?
It's true. I guess
I love my
competency.
16-year-old daughter. She's going to grow up to be an amazing person.
She needs
It's going to be
practice.
fantastic. I'm super proud of who she is.
Okay.
But
How about this?
Oh.
We give her
mhm.
that kit and the dog, and we let her practice.
I'm not mad at the dog. I love the dog. I love the
Be a
dog.
very sparkly dog.
Very sparkly dog. You need more hair for it. You guys will see it. Hello, all mods. Would you let Cinnamon or John know that that I've had the gnomes alert me over and over for the same thing? Alyssa,
The gnomes. Well, Alyssa, if you're having any trouble with your gnomes, you can respond with stop, and it will stop gnoming you.
and then just re-gnome.
And then just re 33222 the Art Sherpa,
I won't
and
be
you'll
mad.
get. Yeah, I'll tell you while she takes this thing.
I'm going to do this. John's going to tell you how.
Okay, so if you're having any trouble with your gnomes, or you'd like to get some gnomes, ooh, look at that! You can send the message "The Art Sherpa" to 33222, and you'll get the notification. If you're getting multiple notifications, just respond back with "stop," and it will stop notifying you altogether. And then you can resubscribe by typing 33222. Or, I mean, sending the Art Sherpa to 33222, and then it'll do it. So that's the somewhat response process for making that
It'll work.
magic work.
It'll work.
It
It'll be
works.
okay. It'll work. So I have Blanca, so she has the problem with getting the back of her head too. We have Maria saying she loves it. And we have Tammy saying that she does not comb her hair anymore. She's just not doing that. She likes to stop doing that. Which I kind of, to be honest, get. Now, in this type of landscape, and especially when you're drawing for painting, it's not the same as when you draw to draw, right? Because the value in the lines that you make on your canvas, they don't really anchor the whole piece. It's about the value of paint that you apply and the marks that you make with the paint. However, pre-sketching on your surface does help you know where objects go and where you want to put different techniques or values. If you don't draw, I highly recommend that you use our free traceable, which is on the website www.theartsherpa.com. And I'm going to tell you right now, especially if you're new to art, I'm going to tell you definitively, for a fact, not subjectively, tracing is not cheating.
So much so that we have an entire investment in it. Like
That's
you
true.
Guys.
We are investing in it. I'm going to come just a little bit past, almost to this far third, and I'm going to make a downward line. This is going to represent kind of like the stone that's coming down. And then starting here about an inch up, I'm going to bring a little bit of my stone walkway over here. And then I have some other stone walkway that's coming in at an angle and a little perspective angle from the side. It's just off this corner. Now, again, use the traceable if this sort of blocking in is challenging. And remember, you are taught in art school how to use a projector. You're taught in art school how to grid, and you are taught in art school how to transfer images through a variety of means onto your canvas. It is very likely that Girl with the Pearl Earring was done with a projector. This is art technique. Yeah. Being able to freehand is awesome, and I highly recommend it. There are many good drawing classes out there to take. Just know that it isn't what sometimes people try to make it out to be. Yeah. I'm going to bring this up a little bit and kind of come across here. This is sort of a stone little slab area. And I'm going to open this up, and it's going to come up to above this. That's kind of how we're going to get that little bit of perspective. Coming off of this is another little stone. We're going to bring it out. I like to do the stones in, and the reason is because we will be shading them, right? And so that shading is going to create a lot of space that our canvas is dependent on. Bring a little let's bring this guy up. He's sort of an interesting little outward rock. I love these big granite style rocks very much because you can really play with how you get in the steps and everything. Let's start to think about the stairway. The stairway is up here, and it's small up here. It kind of curves down in this way. It's going to come down here to this space, but a little, even more of a little bit of a curve there. Or really curve that. It curves to the edge here and then comes back. Now, on the stone steps, here's something I like to do with beginners on stone steps. I like using stone steps with you guys because unlike built steps, which have very specific perspective that you apply, stone steps are kind of messy. So if you're a little bit wonky on your step, as long as you get your value and your highlights, your step is going to look okay. It's going to look okay. I'm going to bring a little bit of this here. And so these are the different values in the stones. And then what's lovely is I can come here and say, oh, there's a stone step here. And you bring this down. And then another little rock can come out here. That actually goes forward, back. And so I'm just, again, creating the shapes and values that help us really see each of these for what they are. So we're just creating these different shapes and values of the stones. It is worth doing, though. Super worth it. This comes up at a little bit of an angle, and there's this fabulous and a little slag of stone here. It's more of an edge. Comes up here. And then there's a big boy. I like this big boy right here because he's almost some of the side of the stairs. Everything okay, babe? Oh, coffee. Yes, please. You see, getting that little bit of shape there. Now, we've got so many plants coming that really all you're going to have to do is get these highlights on your stones, that moss effect, that stone effect, and this will all, like, as you put the bushes and everything on it, really come together. Put a little step up here. Even though it's stone, it's still going to do steppy things, but it might come forward. It might go to the side here. You bring this back, that little angle. And the other cool thing that we have is we have bushes coming in here. So as you do your stones, again, the bushes are going to help you, the plants, the different things. We're going to put some dandelions. So lots of things we're going to do. I see everybody coming in. And what's a shark? I don't know. Baby shark. No, I won't do that to you. I'm sorry to all the people out there who've been baby sharked to death. I apologize. I know that was wrong of me right there, but I couldn't resist it. Thank you, babe. Come back again. And you can see as you're going too, the steps will sort of turn, you know, as they are. You can make some of these sort of kind of curve down, like, oh, there's a little bit of a break in that stone right there. And what's wonderful as we come up, what you end up having on these steps as they go up is just the lightest highlight up here. It's really about catching them where they kind of get closer together and move off in a perspective sense. And we got plenty of room there. Bring some stones here. Lots of stone happens up there, and then we know we have the landing coming there. There's sort of a little walkway that comes up off here, takes a viewer there, and then we have the viewer being able to come down here, right? So we're going to put little bits of stone and pathway, and then there's some trees and things. And these trees back here are very much in diminished perspective. Like, we're going to fade them out. We're going to push those colors back, and that's going to push them way back in the misty distance if you've been wanting to do a misty tree. Let's sip our coffee. So glad to have everybody. All right. Krista says she's not been able to color her hair since July to her foot, and she has 5 inches of growth. That's practically a routage there. That's almost its own style. Like, there is a grow out point where you just have what's currently in fashion, you know. So
Darcy totally understands the pain of the shark song. It's almost as bad as the hamster dance.
I just heard that song in my head. Did you at home? Let's start blocking in some basic value. Shall we? I'm going to use my probably my cat's tongue brush to start.
Okay.
So this is an Art Sherpa cat's tongue, and it's just a nice brush where I can kind of put in some colors, some thoughts, and have that be a little diminished. I'm going to take my blue and green and mix them together, and add a little of my burnt sienna, as you do. I'm going to come here and get a very distant, adding a little burnt sienna until it grays out enough to feel like the distant far off forest. You have a distant far off forest, you've got to gray it. So the reason the burnt sienna is nice is it almost greens this color, whereas the burnt umber will gray it completely.
Why are you graying stuff in the background?
Because when things are diminished or reduced in color, they feel further away. And we want that. This sky up here is pretty light.
All right.
And we're going to make sure that we have this light value for the sky. And I will bring it down because even as I'm adding trees, and I can, if you see as I push down, look, the color, because the paint, the reason that my paint will be lighter up here and become darker down here is the functionality of brush. If you're not aware of what this does, you might not be able to intentionally create it. As you load a brush, the brush is designed to pull paint and water up into the filament, whether it's watercolor, whether it's oil, whatever it is. Well, you don't use water and oil, but the fluid agent. It pulls it up into the brush, and it's in the belly. And then I have continued to add white and other colors to the toe, but not water, so that didn't get pulled up. And what that causes is that as I put pressure on and run out of the paint at my toe, it will go into the darker color that I had preloaded and create that.
That makes sense.
That effect. Let's get a little more white in there. Just making sure that this is a nice distant background. What's wonderful about this is you do want it to be a bit gradated and you do want some control over that, but it does not have to be perfect in any way.
Yeah.
Is that me?
That's you. Your phone somewhere.
Dude, I don't even know where it is.
It's over there to your right, behind near the cat. See?
Hitchcock, Texas can just get about it. This
That's
new line of like scammers that call you on the phone are so irritating.
You know, when were they not irritating?
I don't know. They've always been irritating, but what I want to say is I just like, even if I was going to upgrade my warranty, I'm not going to upgrade my warranty with them. Creating a little bit of darker value down here and just enjoy playing with that.
Yeah.
Bring that in deeply. Yeah, I've got bushes and I've got all kinds of wonderful things. Oh, I forgot to put out my dog's purple.
You can get some.
I will get some in a minute.
Get some Diax purple out there.
But I grabbed the tube and then I forgot to put it out. Diax purple is another color I'm going to have in this. This one right here, the oxazine purple. I just forgot to put it out. Sometimes it happens.
Purple is a harder
Trying to
color
keep my
find.
brush out of my coffee. You know what I'm saying?
The purple is in short supply this time of season.
It can be, yeah.
Well, I mean,
it really can be.
It's preventing us from doing things. Like we can't get purple.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like for realsies?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to take a little of my black, my white, and my burnt umber, and I'm going to start to paint in my dark rock.
Like, I mean, we can get purple for like, but I'm having trouble getting like 100 tubes of purple.
Really?
Yeah. It's surprisingly, it's one of those colors that
you guys
was
like
not,
the purple, and now I can't get the purple. Is that what you're saying?
There was there's just not a lot moving into stock right now, so I'm in line to get some.
I'm kind of like bummed about that.
Yeah.
You can see I'm bringing this gray up here. And we're going to have a lot of vines here. We're going to have a lot of moss here. So what this is this is that point of the painting where you're doing something and you are blocking in those base values is what you're doing.
This is kind of the underpainting.
This is very much the underpainting. The beginning of the painting where you're trying to kind of share something specific with it. Now I'm going to also get this very dark color because, runs of steps. Run of steps. Painting that in early. Runs the steps.
You're so quiet
I
today.
am quiet because I'm just like looking at my reference and I'm finding these spots. So
what spots
I have put my darkest value here on this face of the rock, right? I've got one here on this face of the boulder. I've got one here. And I've started to put it up the steps coming up. And this is mostly, my darkest value is mostly black. It does have a little of the burnt umber and those colors in it, but it's mostly black. And I'm just making sure that my stones, as they come up, will have a nice kind of space. And then I've got this here, quite dark. It does blend into a lighter value as it goes back. Got this here. Again, little stones that we are doing. You can kind of see how that starts to make those little stone spaces pop up. Yeah. And that's what you want. You do want that. They come out here and add a little bit of shadow to the ground coming out. And perhaps a little shadow coming up. That won't hurt the steps. And then I'm going to get a little white into my mix. It's still dark, but it's lighter than the other values. Just creating that light value there. We've got almost 3 shades of gray. Not quite 50. Funny to like 2 people. A little bit of the highlight on this rock.
Yeah.
And a little bit of highlight on this rock.
The highlights in.
Get those highlights in because that's what gives the boulder shape, right? I know I've got some coming up here and I might add a bit of highlight right here just to peek through the bushes.
Do you only use Sennelier paint?
I don't only use Sennelier paint. I love Sennelier paint. I love Golden Artist Colors. I love Holbein. I love M. Graham. I love
them all.
PBO. I think Amsterdam is a good company. I don't think every company is a good company.
There are many, though.
There are many good companies, and I don't mind telling you about any of them. I actually have a blog and a file on the website. I'm adding a very light color here for the top of the steps just to start blocking those in. We'll paint them in detail later, but this just helps us get the thought of them in.
The thought. I love that.
They're a thought.
All right, I'm going to go check.
Remember, it's that hue over there. Those thoughts. The machine one booted? Oh. Adding a little bit of highlight there. Let's add a little highlight right here.
All right.
Now I might go back into a darker value, but lighter, just because I want some of this on the outside to have a bit of a few highlights, even as we're doing it. Patching the 3 values. Not like Addams Family values, but still values.
Values nonetheless.
We can't all be the Addams Family, right?
We can aspire.
We can aspire. Now this plate here, I'm going to get a little bit of my burnt umber into the gray. A little of the burnt umber. And maybe even a little of my yellow ochre. And we're going to kind of use this to talk about maybe some dirtish color.
Some dirtish colors.
Dirtish colors. There's some dirt colors.
Now, what do you think of the Artist Loft paints?
Artist Loft Level 3, I love. Artist Loft Level 1, no, I don't like. But I do love the 3. I think it's a really good product. And I make a slightly darker color as I come down here talking about the path going off into the distance. Even though it's just very diminished, you know, it's there, you're hinting at it. Now you're going to want to be able to pull it off into the distance. At the lip, I can add some white into my brush. You can see I haven't even rinsed out. I'm going to come along this edge.
Oh.
Coming along the front edge.
Edge painting.
Of that. Now that is where you'd want to be in what is considered traditionally kind of an underpainting. This is sort of where you blocked out major objects, put in some strong values that you need to be aware of. And this is what I mean when I say, oh, hey, you know, when you're painting, you don't draw in the same way that you draw if you're drawing.
You don't?
Snow Leopard 16, you are beautiful and talented. Snow Leopard 16, you're my favorite.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
I appreciate flattery. I do
too. I think we all love it.
Lisa Zare says her husband is doing a video cooking class with his Google team, so I have to stay out of the kitchen for a while. That's a whole weird... Does he work at Google, Lisa? Does he work at Google? I need to know. I have a reason for asking this. I have a tie in there. So if you don't know this, Google and YouTube, they love the food.
They do.
As a company,
they're foodies. Secret
subculture is very foodie. And so when you do any programs with them or anything, what's wonderful is that, man, you get to eat super well. But Lisa Sarah says, do you prefer heavy-bodied or regular paint soft-bodied? I prefer them, mostly I paint with heavy-bodied as a preference. So I'm going to tell you, quite frankly, they're both equally good. As long as the quality is good, whether you're doing soft-body or that. The difference is heavy-body makes a bunch of texture and brush strokes, and soft-body is self-leveling and smooths out. They have similar pigment, and that is what is going on there.
That is the scoops.
That is the, yep. Lisa says, yep, he works at Google. Yeah, they love some food. Isn't it true? Sure, isn't it, Lisa? They love them foods. They're foodies.
And makeup.
You can trust a foodie. I'm going to say this right now. Officially, I love Google. I love YouTube. I have been in their companies. I have talked to their people. I know what they are about. And you want to talk about some great kids and some great people with some big dreams and caring about other people. They absolutely do as companies. They really do care about other people. You know,
craft services win.
And craft services always wins.
Just saying.
Yeah.
We were next to Rhett and Link in the space, and it was pretty cool. Their craft services.
Their craft services.
They were.
Now Rhett and Link from Good Mythical Morning. They do have good food. We were accidentally mistaken as a crew for them once. It was so nice.
And then we were told by the crew, if
they
you're
came
mistaken
and took the food back, but for a minute they thought we might be with them. And hey, we weren't correcting that misunderstanding.
No, they told us, don't correct it. Just go.
Just.
And we were like, but we're just in the place next door.
We're nobody. I kept saying that. We're nobody.
They kept giving us cookies. And we were like, thank you.
Thank you for the cookies. So I'm going to grab a couple brushes. And again, I'm going to be looking for some other stuff. So number 4 Cambridge and a number 4 Art Sherpa round are what I'm going to be doing the next bit in. And I'm going to just start building in some of these background foliages.
Foliages.
Is
it foliage when there are more of them?
Huh?
Is it foliage when there's a bunch?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
What is it? I don't know,
foliage.
John.
It's foliage. I'm just...
Is it?
Yes.
I don't have the answer to that question at all. So I want a value of paint that's similar to the background color, right? Similar hue. That's the color it is. With the value to be just one shade darker. I'll test it down here. Yeah, okay, perfect. So in the distance with my number 4 round in a color like this, but just one value darker. No, it keeps telling me my battery is low.
I'll go get you some.
I'm going to make some very distant. This is going to be light pressure, and I'm making some very light kind of implied trunks and trees. I'm putting them here.
Okay.
These are very light. Right, because this is all far, far away.
Jeez.
In a forest far, far away. There are some trees.
A magical forest. Somewhere, there's a forest with some trees.
Okay, so now, and John is not a fan of it, but I watched Discovery, which is the new Star Trek series, right?
Okay.
And you can say why you're not a fan in a second, but I am. I like it very much, and I like several of the characters quite a lot. I love Tilly.
Paul Stamets is awesome.
exactly.
I'm glad they gave him a character named after him.
Tapping my brush up and down just on the toe, creating some little distant implied leaves. These aren't real considered or thought out. They're just little fuzzy aspects of leaves. So I watch it, and we got to go to Trill. So if you watch a lot of Star Trek, you know what a Trill and a symbiote is, right? Mm-hmm. You got to watch all the stuff, but if you do, you know what a Trill is. So we got to go to Trill, and I was watching it last night, and Trill looks like my painting. Did you notice? You were super sleepy.
I was super sleepy.
You were super sleepy, and you kept saying, it's the WB of Star Trek.
Well, I mean, space mushrooms.
It happened.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm saying it's a big, big universe out there, but space mushrooms.
What I really loved last night was, okay, so there's Stamens, and then there's Tilly, and I love Tilly, and they work in engineering. They work in the mushroom drive, spore drive. And she's got some suggestion, and he mansplained dark matter to her. And I just thought, in what Star Trek universe does anybody in the Federation mansplain something, especially to another genius in your own field? Like, we all understand what a subatomic particle is. It was just really funny. And of course, I know they're just making sure that everyone in the audience knows what all these terms are, but it was just real funny because I'm like, of everyone out there, Tilly isn't the one who's struggling to know what these objects are. She's perfectly capable. She's a capable girl.
But I'm just saying, we've rewritten Star Trek canon based off of mushrooms.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
no, we're not saying that we're going to put a whale in the hull of a Klingon starship. We're not saying that. That's plausible. Well,
honestly, that's like one of my favorite Trek movies. So you better sit down.
No, that was a good one. I'm saying
taking my phthalo green, phthalo
more
blue,
plausible.
And burnt sienna.
None of us said, no, bird of prey. It can't handle a whale. That was never a consideration.
I am using a number 4 Cambridge fan, and I'm going to just stipple. I'm going to tap up and down a distant, foggy little foliage. Look at that. And so that creates that sort of texture that you might expect. And then as I'm going forward, I'll get into a darker color, still on my fan. And I'm going to come from the edge here, and I'm going to do the little pine effect. If you haven't seen this, I have a video all about fan brushes to teach you how to use fan brushes if you have ever struggled with your fan brushes.
I always struggle with my fan brushes.
This color is slightly darker than this color and that color, and that's what's going to move it forward into our space. It's a distant kind of little thing, and then as you go forward, you just keep getting darker and darker. So maybe that bush is darker. And these are just peeking in. That you don't have to be super defined or concerned about these. Right, come here and add another little bit of sort of encroaching yet darker foliage. So more blue, more burnt umber, going darker. You could also darken with black. What?
Encroaching foliage.
Encroaching foliage. Okay, come here right up to the edge of the stone. Make sure that is dark. So just so you know, for future, like we always talk about the why. So an atmospheric perspective, if it's a misty morning, if there's fog, if you're in a forest, it's very cool. Objects in the distance will start to blend into each other. They become the same value and hue. And so when you're trying to create that effect, whether it's a fantasy or whether it's reality, you will need to be able to make 3 or 4 values to get that.
To get that value shift?
Mm-hmm. To get the value shift. To pull objects closer to you or further away. That's all you've got to do initially for all of that down there. Looking pretty good, right? Pretty good. I might, even though I know I'm going to probably cover it with my purple brush, I'm going to make sure that there's some foliage going over my path. My path needs foliage, friends. Your
Mhm.
path might need foliage too. I don't know. I'm not on your path. We're all on our own path. I've spoken. It is the way.
So, what I will do is, if you are joining us from one of the many gaming channels that has visited us recently, welcome. And what I will say is that we are much more liberal with the ban hammer here. So
Gotta watch them F bombs,
yeah,
yo.
you gotta watch
Watch them F bombs.
you know,
Right. Yeah. So
this
we
is
don't have as much freedom of speech as
nope.
say the gaming channels do, and that's because we have a wide variety of viewers from 250 countries at a bunch of age ranges.
So yeah.
So because of that, we do SpongeBob SquarePants swear word.
Dinner table etiquette is expected.
And you can say barnacles. We don't discuss politics or religion because we've all decided people don't do that reasonably.
Yep.
And
yeah, that's it.
you got to be in
Have
the
fun.
patronage if you want to paint a nude. Ashley says, I won't lie. Every time I watched the Sherpa teach, I thought I knew about stuff about art, and then I realized I know nothing. That is a really sweet thing, but I'm sure you are super good.
Okay, so
I'm super good.
Ashley, I've been here for like 7
And
years.
Mr.
Every day, same
Anand,
thing.
hi.
I'm all the time learning something new here too, and I've been here for like 7 years. Every video, every video, I've been here, and I learned something new. Just saying. Every video, I was here.
John knows. Listen, when we started dating, he didn't want to be an artist or know about painting. Let's be honest here. I'm going to make a very dark color, and this will be the one time I'm going to get my burnt umber, a little of my phthalo blue, and I will go ahead and get some of my Mars black. This will be the darkest color that we're going to utilize. I'm going to imply a tree coming out, as you do. Well, I do anyways. And we're going to also add some little touches of pieced out leaves. Pieced out meaning I'm kind of hand painting them. Each little leafy. We're just making a closer value of tree that is coming down here.
Tree values.
Tree values are very important values. They're like Adam's family values.
You need to watch that movie and satisfy the itch in your brain that says Adam's family, Adam's family, Adam's family.
I do. You sleep. I watch. Well, right now I'm watching. I discovered my new favorite search terms on YouTube. Dance choreography.
So
then just put any song you like it. And you just like go, what?
Who's doing the new Adam's Family?
Your daughter. She's ready to play for her school.
There's a new series happening.
No.
It's really good. It was.
I'm happy to watch it.
I'll
So we're
Google
just
it.
tapping out little trees. Little things to think about trees. Trees don't repeat, right? They're messy. And so your trick is whenever you're doing a tree is that you just want to make sure, and it's nice to come out and do little taps, that you don't just make the same shape again, so that it looks like it's just one thing. You're leaning out looking at me like I did something.
Tim Burton's doing
Oh,
it.
well, then I'll watch it.
Yeah, I know.
If Tim Burton's doing it, I'm in like, I'm in. If Tim Burton is doing it, I'm so in.
At first I was like, it's Wes Craven. It's like, no, it's not. It's somebody else. That'd be funny though.
Then
Wes
I'm not
Craven.
in.
Wes Craven does the Addams Family.
I don't know. I
That'd
can
be
never
weird.
tell. It's a mixed bag. I'll
Yeah.
tell you who I'm not up for, Michael Bay. But
Would be the
that would be the Addams Family values. Everything's blew up. Michael Bay. I have a pyrotechnics degree.
How about Quentin
Oh my God, if you're painting with me right now, sir, I'm so sorry. I'm just joking around.
No, Quentin Tarantino could do the Addams Family. That would be just the talkiest.
And then at the end, a lot of explosions.
Well, that it would be Thing just killing everyone.
We're going to make a gray. So you're going to take a little bit of your white and just grab some of your black, and you're going to make a pretty light gray, but it still needs to be a gray. And we're going to put in our birch, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a basic birch here, friends. And I keep going. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get it. And then I go back and I'm like, I'm not getting it. Here we go. from the side here over towards this edge, but do give yourself about a finger's worth of width of room. You pull the brush up number 4 round on a light gray. It's okay if the paint underneath is wet and it's picking it up, it's fine. We're just getting these first things laid in. If it's bothering you, all you do to fix that is use the hair dryer. Sometimes I kind of like those things, so I just do what I want to do. Do what I want to do. Say what I want to say. I'm fine. Are you fine?
I'm fine.
Tammy's like, messy like my hair. I like it. Messy like I use my hair as inspiration. So just enough so you can see where your tree is going to be. This takes a few like layers. Trust me. Let's bring a low branch down here. Low branches are good branches. Shh. I'm going to come right in here and drag this over towards the left on the toe of your brush. And you can kind of see from the close-up camera that I'm not bending my brush deep like this, right? Because look at how thick of a mark that makes. It's just, you know, so remember how hard you're pushing on your brush can really impact the result. With beginners, I find like once they get past those initial things, how much water on the brush, how much pressure on the brush, how do I get this technique? Once you guys get that stuff down, then you're like, you're cooking with fire. You guys paint just fine and get into things. So that's a nice beginning of a tree.
It's a good tree.
It's the beginning of a tree. Well, I have this nice light gray. I'm going to maybe get some blue into it. Light gray, but kind of blue. And I'm going to come here to the tops of our steps.
Top of the steps.
To the top of steps. I may have to come back, you know, with some. I'm just going to get some thoughts in there. Get your thought. Get those little highlights. Number 4 round, I'm just trying to get nice fine lines. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're just getting some different little values and you're capturing the edge of the step. Just getting that little highlight going there. Piecing that out. Get a little highlight there. And then we're going to have a lot of gray over it, but it can help to have a bit of a highlight going here. Now, if ever I want to kind of blend out something, I'll rinse out my brush. I'm going to take it kind of flat like this. And you can kind of circle the brush. And while the paint is wet, diffuse it. See how that's going? I just rinsed out all the paint out of my brush. And I'm just kind of circling. So one way that you can kind of soften something if you wanted to. And come back and work on some of my dark values in the stone on the steps.
All right, let me go back.
Making sure that's kind of worked out. I'm going to get a little bit of my orange and my burnt sienna together. Maybe actually I can get into my burnt umber. And we're going to come into the steps from the side. Let's add a little bit of this sort of brown leafing. The leafing, I'm just using my little round brush here. You can even And I wiggle it up the side. Wiggle it. A little darker brown. Tapping up and down.
Yeah.
Tap, 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 tap. When I tap up and down, I'm diffusing that line. Right? Everything is just mark making. It looks like magic, but it's just mark making. And yeah, I've got some blue I'm going to be pulling here, but it helps to put the brown in down first because it would be. You can always come back and, you know, along here. Now a little bit with my burnt sienna, and I'll just come all the way back up. Isn't that fun? Tapping those little values. Don't paint out all your dark color because your dark color is what lets the lighter colors. This is the orange, and that's the burnt sienna. All the brighter colors kind of show through. Tapping up and down. Tapping, tapping up and down. All around the town. All around the town. Beginning of some thoughts on the steps. Thoughts on steps, sir. Thoughts on steps.
Looking pretty good.
It's getting there. Now, I find it can be helpful to exaggerate a couple of things. So I'm going to come in with some black. In between my rocks, I am going to exaggerate the value of the crack. And that is going to be so that as I paint other things in, they really have that dramatic look. That you would want. Where we know we're going to have some shadows and some stuff. And then you can even start to add some crackies. Some cracking. Right? Sometimes the boulder cracks. Sometimes, not often. Clicks. Clicks. Right. Maybe a little bit of darker value here and exaggerate it. Exaggerating your lines. Get down here, increase that value.
Yeah.
Just bring that value in. So let's look at this for a second. Guys, take this in. See where you're at here.
Okay.
So like every once in a while we'll stop and I'm going to go back through and I'll mark chapters as well. And that will let you find specific places. Within 24 hours, I always try to go back now and mark. It's new, but I'm trying to do it for every video. Go back and mark chapters, and timestamp that where I can, so that you guys can get in there and be like, oh, at minute she was doing that weird leaf thing. I just need to see that again. So you're not like connected to the whole run of my painting every time that you've got to have something going on. I'm going to get a scruffly brush, a hog brush. A hog brush, my friends. You ready for that? And we're going to take some colors and we're going to mix up some colors. I'm going to get a little orange and a little of my brown, and we're going to mix up some colors and kind of dry brush some mossy moss where it's possible onto bits of the rock. And this is really a fun thing because rocks are very colorful. I don't know if anybody ever told you, but rocks are super colorful. And it really can be a lot of fun. Come in and play with that color and that drama. Get a little green into my mix. I got brown in there, but that's okay. Where I have the darker green, I can kind of age out moss it up. Moss your rocks up, friends. Moss them up.
Oh, I was
Moss them
watching
all up.
chat.
Kind of scrumble across these two values and see it's like just mossing them up. Again, this is the brown and there's green, and I didn't rinse out my brush, so it's very, muted and moss it up.
Mossy.
Your rocks should be mossy.
Oh.
Now, if I come in and get my zinc involved, which is my transparent white, and I add a little yellow into that, I can get a slightly brighter green. We're going to come in and also maybe add some different values of green into our moss. Just be playful. Don't lose the value of your overall rock shapes, though. And just keep pulling that up there. I'm adding some green. Now, I'm going to get some of my phthalo green and some of my zinc white. And what happens with phthalo is when you add a little of the zinc white to it and a little yellow, it goes almost into that weird vintagey mint color. And I'm going to tap up and down. We're going to make some of those weird lichens. See the weird lichen? Corner of the brush, just tapping up and down. Where your lichen grows. I like where the wild things are. Where your lichen grows. Up and down. You want it to be a very randomized shape. Right? You don't want it to be too orderly, because if it's too orderly, it won't feel like what it is. And you do want things to be just a hair more colorful than they might be in nature. And the reason for that is that this is fantasy landscape. You definitely want those moments of kind of a little bit of fantasy.
Whoops. Looking good.
Yeah, it's just fun to do.
So many little lichen.
Well, they happen, right? Lichen happen.
They grow on the side of rocks.
They do. They grow on the side of rocks. They live in the world. They do little licheny things. And a little bit of bright green here. You can always come into your brown neutralize anything out. So, getting some little lichens going.
Yeah.
I am using, again, just to go over the brush again, this is a number 6 Cambridge Bright in a hog bristle. When you're painting with hog bristles, remember that you've got to have a towel so that you can take the extra moisture squeezed out of the brush. Otherwise, it'll get too sloppy. Yeah. It won't be what you want. Now, see, while I did that, I let my tree dry, didn't I?
Your tree drew?
My tree dried.
It dried.
It dried. So I'll go back into my blue-gray. I'll start to paint my tree in earnest now. You let it be a little dry brushy. And that's because we're doing bark. Trees need to be larger at the ground than they are as they grow up, and your branches will need to do that as well. That's what you see me kind of working out here. Is that idea? You can always come back into some more gray. Right? Perhaps come here and dry brush a little bit of a gray side of the tree. A very light stroke. It's just a very light dry brush. I want to add a shadow to the left side of things. That's what I'm doing. As I go, I'm going to kind of pull this out. I'm going to get some white into my brush. Okay, if it has a little blue in it, but I want to get some white. And I'm going to just do a little curve kind of arc. The stroke is a little bit curvy. I'm curving the stroke up the tree.
So if you missed the beginning of this, and
just replay.
You can rewind. This video will be up again once we're done. You can watch it from the beginning.
Yes,
totally. You can rewind it. You can find it on our website, on our Roku channel, or in the World Wide Web. Generally, you just Google us, and sometimes it'll come up. But yes.
Not on Reddit, though. I don't have any Reddit problems.
No, yeah, we don't.
I just don't do any of my own Reddits.
We have no time for Reddit.
Oh, I just can't even. And I kind of like recreationally on occasion TikTok. But only is like ironically because I'm totally not good at it. Don't get excited. I don't do dances or anything. You won't catch me doing the Carol Baskin up on there. I'm taking black and I'm going to make some marks into my tree.
These marks you're making?
These are the little discoloration that happens kind of on these little birches and aspens. Very distinctive.
Birch bark.
I find that when a branch kind of comes out, sometimes it's nice to a little area. Yeah, we're just making little birches. Just try to keep it irregular. That's all you're really trying to do. It is a combination of the light and these little dark marks that really make the birch tree look like a birch tree.
Yes.
We also still have to get some leaves on there and then come back, interestingly enough, wherever we feel like we need to, and maybe add an example of another branch, because like we might paint some of it out. To that end, I am going to grab a stone blender. Not what I want to do. Hold on a second. Let me ponder how I want to get my little. I like the round aspect of these leaves quite a lot.
Yeah.
So I may actually go into my round brush because I just like that round aspect. Oh my goodness, every water thing I have is dirty.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do I need to get you some clean one?
Yeah. Well, I'm doing the little dots. All right, so I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt umber and perhaps with my yellow, cad yellow. We do want these to sort of feel fall yellow. And I'm going to just load up on the toe of the brush. John is going to get me new coffee and new water. And I'm going to come here and do 1,000,000 dots. Now, yeah, you could do Q-tips in this area. Q-tips would be a great tool. No, because for me, those will be bigger, or you could do a dotting tool. But I think that my brush will be sufficient to give me the look. Bring some dots in front. We're starting out with a brown dot, my friend. And the dots just give these leaves that aspect of feeling. Oh, that was my iPad. Just keep doing the round. Just keep going round. I'm just giving them more of a round shape. And I do my dark value first, and then I can lighten it up as I go. I'm not really painting each individual leaves, but I want that sort of that feeling. There's time for coffee because I'll be dotting that long. If you want coffee too. We're going to be dotting for a minute. This is burnt umber and cad yellow medium. Don't forget to add some dots maybe in front of the trunk to give it some placement. When the tree all comes together, it will be very much like the reference. Even though that was done digitally, it'll be very much like that feel. What you see me doing here is adding a drop or two of water, incorporating it into my heavy body paint, loading the toe. That's what we're doing. My little motion is sort of circular. So it gives a bit of that dot feeling. And if you think about it, like aspen leaves, they're like little bits of tree confetti, right? They're just hanging off the tree, and then the wind catches them, and then they flutter, and one side of them is shinier than the other side, and so then they're a little more reflective, and it makes it feel like the forest is like totally like rocking a glitter show. It's quite spectacular. So I think maybe worth creating some of that aspect. And it's true also birches. They are very like, these types of trees tend to have leaves that are free-spirited. A weird way to look at a leaf, I know. And come around that side. Just keep dotting these. The other thing about when you're doing plant life, when you're doing a fantasy landscape, if you vary up the textures the way you're making marks to create the different plant life, what that'll do is that will help your piece. also feel like there's very specific plants represented there. Like, so just, you would make the same mark for every leaf. If you make a slightly different mark for different leaves, it'll help them actually feel like different leaves. I'm rolling out paint, loading up on the toe, and continuing on. There's going to be some serious dotting in the tree because we have to dot this first value, then we come back with yellow, kind of orangey yellows, and then some yellow greens. It'll be real fun. It's okay to, distinctly make some of these feel very round. Overall aspect of them will definitely give that. Now I'm going to get way more into my yellow. Get into my yellow, maybe even add a little orange to my yellow, as you do. I'm adding drops of water with my brush and then incorporating this in. This will be a distinctly lighter color. You'll find this part of the painting to be probably the most therapeutic of the piece. Anytime you get to do these repeating motions, creating little textures. Even the way we're getting to create the dots here to represent the leaves is very calming. See me load up when I'm noticing that I'm working to get paint too hard. Little dots. You get bigger, smaller. They have variance in size. Right. This will look really spectacular near the purple and red bush. Which is going to be just a regular purple and red bush. I'm really excited to add the dandelions to the composition. Yeah, I lost this entirely. Luna or somebody will go up and get my power. So if Luna will go up and get my charger. Doesn't have to be you, babe. I got you, babe. It's next to my bed. Oh, no, it's next to the computer. It's next to the computer where I sit. She's behind the sofa. Behind the sofa by the computer, Luna. These little bits of yellow.
Now, can you put the yellow on top of the brown while it's wet, and will
Yep.
that matter?
It'll blend. The brown may pick up and go into the yellow and create kind of a blending on the canvas, and that is okay. We like to blend on the canvas. Artists use it on purpose all the time. You can see we're just building up. The yellow green, I think that's really going to make this. So I like even just the yellow and brown leaves.
Yeah.
Very autumn. Very this time of year. I really like it when there's several colors. Now I am absolutely, I acknowledge this. I'm doing a lot more autumn than maybe a lot of other YouTubers are already like hitting the Christmas. But dang it, I need a minute before I get into Christmas. So I feel like we barely explored autumn, right? Like I'm still feeling my love of the fall leaves and everything. Got Thanksgiving coming up for us here in the United States. I've got this stuff. So if you look at the channel and the upcoming lives, you're going to see so many beautiful fall landscapes coming up. And I'm going to probably not really hit the winter holiday. Thank you. Don't need to be on camera. I see you. I know what you're up to. Thank you, sweetheart. I so appreciate it. Let this charge back up, and then I will be back with my art fam online. Plugging in. Oh, and dragging my cord through paint. Because I haven't done anything until I've drug my cord through paint 5 or 6. Everything has a certain amount of acrylic on it that doesn't belong on it. Right? Everything does. It's just like, oh, here's the acrylic. But that will charge up in a minute, and then we'll be there. Okay, that looks really good. Going into the yellow, right? Not a completely pure yellow, certainly, but definitely much more yellow. Sometimes it's nice to bring a drop over and kind of thin the paint. You could also just do fluid paint if you wanted. And you can also add some zinc white if you wanted to lighten but not change the color that it is. If you add titanium white, it's going to really change. So we're just adding that little next layer of yellow highlight. Where the leaves go out over there, then they become much more separately, distinctly little round dots. Just another value. Another value in the tree.
Now Lisa's about to do her hair in purple. I have to say, I'm a fan of the fantasy hair colors.
Are you?
Yeah.
I never know how. John never weighs in on my hair. He never puts any pressure on me to look a certain way. And so I never know, like, if he's like, yay, purple.
Well, so.
And then I just do it. So I guess it's a little self-centered, I guess.
I want you to look like the way that you want to look because I like you. So it's really kind of strange. Like, I wouldn't want to tell you how to look because then you wouldn't be being you.
Everybody just went to get their partners. Listen.
Well, no.
That's wonderful, though.
But
that's really nice.
It's just sort of like.
Get a little of my green over here. That is really nice, though. Mixing a little yellow and green. I might even get a little of my zinc into it just to lighten it a bit.
Now that doesn't apply if you're my child. If you're a child, I'm telling you everything you have to do. You are mine. I'm responsible for you until you're legally on your own. Therefore, I get to dictate what you do.
Are you doing this just in case one of the kids are listening and they hold it against you?
Specifically, like Luna's gonna like watch this and come back and say, "But you said."
Okay, like, yeah, she definitely will. She's a little lawyer.
Like 18, kid.
He's always building the case. I'm adding a little bit of the cad yellow into that, the mix that we already had going, and a little bit of green, because we'll talk a little bit how some of the leaves, not all the leaves, some of the leaves are green. You know what I mean.
Some leaves are green.
Some of the leaves are green and the sky is gray. I'm like the queen of 2 bars of a song.
Especially if they're a holiday Christmas song.
So one of the side effects of growing up as a Jehovah's Witness is that I don't actually know any holiday songs from the beginning to the end.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It
This
took
is true.
John a minute to get used to when we were first dating because he had no idea what was going on. It was
Da 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 da, sing some songs now. La 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 la. Here comes Santa Claus.
I finally was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "It's the only part of the song I know, babe."
Here comes Don, he's full of merry, drinking all the punch that was spiked by him.
Ashley Welch loves your song. she says, it's a good song. She believes in it. I know we've been at this for a minute, guys. The three hoots are three hoots because they just take a little more time, you know?
What is a hoot?
A
And who gives one?
hoot is our difficulty level. So we could have done something simple like, say, difficulty level 1, 2, and 3. But why do that when you can call them a hoot and confuse every new person that comes into your life like we have? I hope my sarcasm is because, like, when you start out, you don't think like, oh, I need to protect my identity. I should use a fake name. By the way, if you're starting out online, use a fake name.
Oh, yeah.
Not smart. Not smart. Deck the halls with Boston Charlie. La, 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 la. Grandpa got run over by a reindeer. Yeah, so there's some that are...
This is classic right here. This is exactly why. Right there. Who got run over by a reindeer?
I've read the script. It's Darcy Cully's fault. She said Grandpa got run over by a reindeer. I read her thing.
But who?
I do know it's Grandma.
Okay, just want to make sure. Just
Lisa
Uncle
Zare,
Bob
you can
got
approve
run
Lisa Zare's comment, Sarah. You can add a retardant because she's using the correct art term.
There we go.
Oh, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Let's put in a purple bush while we're here. Let's do that. Let's push purple. So I'm going to add some purple to my palette. You remember earlier I said, you know what? I forgot to add purple. Yes, I did. And come here. I'm taking my number 4 Cambridge fan and I'm going to mix up some purple and some quinacridone. Loading it on the edge. This is an edge load, fully loaded. I'm going to just stipple up and down and create a happy little bush. I know this bush is happy because it's purple.
Yeah.
That's a very cool bush. It's a bush that this magic forest appreciates deeply. I feel. Just bring some, I just like to tap out some little leafy bushy bits. It's got a little bush shape. You know, and go further out. However bushy you want to make it. As I go for it, I add a little more magenta into my mix. And then I'm going to absolutely grab some of the zincs. Remember how I said like zinc will help change the color?
Yes.
Change the value, but not the base color. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that some of my branches have highlights and some of my branches have shadows, and that creates the shape of the branch. It's also nice if the outer edges of the bush have a little bit of highlighting as well. I may need to get a little of my cad red into this mix to nail the color. There we go. Crazy color, but I just like it.
I love it.
Dark bush at the bottom. Dark bush is dark at the bottom. Gonna add a little more of my zinc to this mix and maybe a little more magenta. Darker, a lighter color. Oh, I think we're gonna have to go titanium. To really see it. There we go. All wet into wet.
All of them.
And you're just trying to make sure that your bush has some light values. Sometimes you can come in on the corner And you can always come back with your purple and make sure that things that are supposed to be dark remain dark. Things that are supposed to be light remain light. This is good. Is good.
Very good.
Very good.
How long does it take if you're not doing
And
this?
guess what? I also have a teeny tiny little fan brush for up top fanning.
So if you weren't doing this on live, about how long do you think it would take to paint this?
Well, here's what. It's a weird thing. Like for me, I would spend probably about 3 hours with this, just myself, because I would keep fussing with it.
Yeah.
I would have a lot to say. I'm just tapping my little fan brush up and down, kind of making sure that there's a little green area. This is the Royal and Langnickel 20 fan brush, 20. And I use it for a lot of things. I really like having it around.
Yeah.
Because it gives me a very nice effect and I can get it involved, but without get some of this yellow into my just coming up, making sure I've got some bright yellow highlights.
Yeah.
Against this deep green, and it's kind of like going down here. A little bit of a mossy moss. Yeah, that is nice little mossy moss.
Mossy.
Mossy, mossy, mossy. I'm going to get back into my green.
Where are you at? Hold on.
I'm over here. Oh, sorry.
There you are. Okay.
I'm going to rinse out and get back into my green. There's little places I like to use this little guy. Go here and I'm going to make sure we've got a little bit of it. See how it's falling over?
Yep.
And then it can flick up. More into my yellow. Fun to pull things over the stone. It's also fun to pull things up.
Yeah.
Little mark. Just little beginnings of things that are happening. I'm in a couple places that I can also like. Can be fun to put a little bit of a. I love it when I don't love it. I'm like, nope.
You're thinking about it.
As I will, I'll be like, oh, that didn't really. The techniques don't always do what you hope that they'll do, and if that happens, you just kind of take them out. But don't stress out over it and make it be something it's not going to be. Right? That's not something that you gotta worry about. So I'm just putting little bits of this bright green here and there, and that's going to help really create space for flowers and events. Let's come up and add some of this green coming over the stairs and into the rock. Yeah, we've got a lot of little leaves and different colors of things to put in, but you can start to use this, a little tiny micro fan, to create that space of plants and grass and things that say start to edge around the stairway. That's what you want. Yeah. However you get these marks, what you're trying to do is create little bits of plant life that are happening around the stairway.
Yeah.
You know you'd have them there.
Of course. I love the little grasses.
I love little grasses too. Little grasses on the hillside. Adding a little bit of green and yellow to get a very light green. You're going to put that a couple places. Some places to...
Some places.
Yeah, talk about some different plant values. I can take the fan to the edge here.
Yeah.
and just use it to create these little rough, random little marks as you do. And it's the dark and the light that really makes everything pull up.
Mm.
Fun times. And that gives us, you know, like this starting place to play with, you know? And
Yeah.
then you can come in and you can create details and other things like there's some yellow moss. And that yellow moss, right, was a bit of the orange into my yellow and some of my burnt sienna. And if I want to, I can take my number 4 round. And now that I know where some plants are, I can add some of the yellow into the moss. Lichens.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's yellow lichens. Like, oh, there's some yellow in that light. I can paint it, and it will make what I have look even better. Colorful rocks will always look even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like colorful rocks.
I'm gonna add some of the yellow
Rock.
kind of moss down here. Even though I've got the sort of dandelion stuff coming, you want to make sure that that's here because that's part of the color scheme you might be thinking about. Now it's a small canvas, so I probably will keep using my tiny fan. You want to size your fan brush, your technique brush to the size of your canvas.
Lisa's got a great question.
I have an answer, Lisa.
Do you ever have to scratch your palette and start over?
Yes. All the time.
All the time.
All the time. If I put out too much paint, it starts to dry, or I just use up too much of my palette and then I can't get it to do what I want it to do. I'm going to curve down some little mosses. So these are like a cascading flower. And they're going to take out a little bit of our work. I don't want them to take out too much of my work. I want them to be here and I want them to flow around, but I don't want them to take out all of my painting. I worked really hard to create some of these little details and moments, and you did too. But I want kind of a little fall of that there. You could, pull a little vine of it forward. Keep it going. And then there's definitely, I want a grip of it coming from up here and falling down this way. And again, I'm just using the willow method, the falling method on the fan brush. If you're not familiar with that, or you're like, oh my gosh, fan brushes are not my friend, I have 5-minute videos that explain the fan brush. It doesn't even take a lot of your time. 5 minutes and you can know everything you need to know about the fan for this painting and any other. Now, as I go forward, I'm going to get more and more into my CAD red. And every time I do that, the color will get brighter and brighter. As you can see here. When I went to France, this is actually inspired by something I saw there, this particular red cascade of leaves, because they had these amazing ivies in the fall, John, that would go this color.
Oh yeah, I loved when they do that. What do they call that? Is it a fire bush?
I don't know what it was,
Yeah,
but man, it grew on the houses and all over the place. And
in our backyard.
Oh yeah, there was that too.
We got a fire bush, which is cool because
it's these colors, yeah. Don't take out all of your dark value, otherwise it will make it harder for your lighter values to show. Like if I get this redder red onto my brush. I'm going to just use the corner. Brushing very lightly. Every brush has a personality. You just got to learn yours.
Yep. Your brush personality.
Every brush has a lot of personality. You just have to figure out what your brush's deal is, and you go with it. There's not like necessarily right, wrong, any of those things. But sometimes I'm getting more into my orange now because I just want a lighter value. I need to rinse out. I need it lighter than that. I'm going to take my orange, which is skinned a bit. This is why I was like, we're like, yeah, we do sometimes change. There we go. But, remember all the brush can be engaged. When you look at all that,
yeah,
you can touch just a couple points and then it makes little leaves, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. You can touch all of it and then you can create a little curve. So look at your brush and observe what you can and then ask yourself, what weird little mark will this make? And then you won't feel as much like, oh, I've got to have that exact brush because you're going to know your brush. And then be like, oh man, my brush does that, or oh, the brush doesn't do that, but it does this other cool thing. There we go. Doesn't that look nice?
Yeah.
Nice other bit of fall color that we're getting and totally loving and enjoying very, very much. Back into my round brush.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab my little zinc. I'm going to make a bunch of little zinky round dots. And these are supposed to be like a dandelion. And that's why I wanted it to be a little bit transparent. I wanted to be able to create that feeling of the fluffs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be about taking opaque whites and transparent whites and playing them against each other. That's looking pretty. It's a good start. I'm going to put some more of those up top. Sometimes when you have something down low, you want to just, especially with plants, maybe you want to place them in a couple places. I'm making these little round circles here. They're round circles with a transparent white. Then I can get my regular white, my not transparent white into it. Tap up and down on the outer edge of these little puffs. You painted the very detailed dandelion and mouse yesterday. You're like, oh, kind of understand what's happening here. This is like a distant version of what we were doing, yesterday. So zinc white, kind of making transparent centers, dotting up and down to create high contrast focal points. I'm going to take a little brown. Come in the center of some of these. See how we're putting a little brown in the center? It's not in high focus. The reason being you wouldn't really see it. I'm going to come in and get some.
Pretty good focused.
Well, no, I mean like in the dandelion stems and things.
Yeah.
They're like kind of loose. And I'm going to grab some just green and brown. We'll make more defined leaves. They're a little different than the other leaves that are here. Those different textures kind of make a difference. And then I'm going to get some of my yellow on my brush, because dandelions also have what? Yellow little blooms, don't they?
Yeah.
This is how I paint like little distancy, landscapey little dandelions. How I would do it. All right. So I am catching up. Deborah's saying hi to Mark Bergeron, a member of the Art Sherpa design team. Mark, fantastic artist. He does a daily painting. Man, you should observe what's going on. He's in our Acrylic April, and he does daily painting. It's amazing. He started like one Acrylic April and then just didn't stop. We have a little bit of a dandelion fluff. Right? That makes it a very fantasy piece, does it not? Let's take a little bit of our green and a little bit of our burnt sienna this time. I'm still on my number 4 brush. I'm trying to make a dark value because I'm going to really need to pop a light value against it. I'm loading up on the toe. And let's come here and make a couple little fern type things. And the fern leaves are very specifically almost like zippers, is what I think of fern leaves. And so if I'm going to ever paint a fern leaf, I try to think of those zippers. It's a little dark on dark at first, so it takes a minute to make enough fern to really be able to see the fern texture of it all. And you need to have some of that. Now I'm going to have another fern kind of like right here, and it's going to be dropping down. So 2 little ferns, zippering the leaves. That's what we're doing. You zipper the leaves. Zipper, 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 zipper. Zipper, 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 zipper. Little interlocking bits. Zipper, 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 zipper. They won't really show till we do the highlight, which we're going to come into our yellow. Make a very bright green. And just highlight those little zippers that we did. And they pop out of nowhere, don't they?
Yeah.
Let's put some zipper, zipper, zipper back this way. On the toe of the brush, you can see it's just zipper, zipper, zipper. Earned. Earned it.
It's not exactly a gully, but it is in a little bit of a recess.
It is. Well, definitely a unicorn or fairy or somebody is in charge of this spot of the woods, in my opinion. And we haven't even added sparkles to like really like hit, the viewer over the head with the sledgehammer that this is fantasy. That's when you're like trying to like make sure that they understand. This is fantasy, yo. So a couple little ferns. We have those little things. Now I'm going to take a little of my purple and my blue. It's my dark value. And I'm going to tap up and down. And into my steps. Purple and blue. And it climbs up the steps. You don't have to paint out all your red lichen, but you do need the purple and blue to come through. purple and blue. They're like almost like little forget-me-nots. You can take any landscape and create this feeling with it. Mm-hmm. And really the trick to that is, and I don't mind doing this again and again and again because it just brings me joy. The trick is take things that are from many seasons and put them into one season.
Many seasons.
Many seasons. That's one of the first things that gives that sense of like, oh, wow, like this is like, it has elements of realism in it, but it's different than what I expect. Switching sides. All right, as we go up, switch, switch, switch. Always add a little kiss here and there, like it could be used. And then the other place, we're going to go down to the bottom, John, to the crack here. And we're going to add a bunch of these coming up this crack. And you can see why we put in a little greenery ahead of time, right? Little greenery ahead of time. Excellent. Look at that go. Now you can always, come in and make little marks if you need to kind of talk about the little dandelions that are happening over here. I like the little dandelions that are afoot. Now, all we're going to do is we're going to get some turquoise, and because phthalo blue has such a nice kind of aspect that is turquoise, we just take a little of our zinc and we create a lighter blue. It's not the lightest blue we ever had or will have in this whole thing, but it's phthalo blue lightened a value. So this is what's going to get that blueberry quality going to it. So first, tappy tap, tap, tap. Don't take out all your dark values because your dark value is what gives these flowers their. And you've got about 3 values on the flowers that you've got to deal with, which is the first deep kind of purple shadow. It definitely shows as a shadow, but without it, the flowers won't register as what they are. Shadows reveal the light. I'm sad to say it.
Why?
But well, because sometimes, it's you realize like in life, sometimes it's the hard times that help us see the good times. Sometimes it's what's not great in others that helps us see what is amazing in others.
Yeah.
And, you start to realize like, I wish it could be all light, all sugar, all perfect all the time, but maybe it can't. Maybe that's how we appreciate those things. I don't know. I'm not in charge of the workings of the universe, thankfully.
Yeah.
I find that super overwhelming.
Over my pay grade.
So over my pay grade. There are so many situations and people and all kinds of circumstances that I think to myself, this is just above my pay grade. Like, I don't even know. No. Everything okay? They need to go walk the doggies?
Oh, child who forgot that she had a school thing and then in the middle of our live was like, gotta get it done, Mom.
You mean the one that we asked 25 times if they were done and confirmed that they were done?
No, it was the oldest one.
Oh, okay.
All right. Still things to do, but yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to take my blue and now add quite a lot of white to it, as you can see, and this makes a very light value. This is our light value of our blue. And so you're just going to come in and touch the top of all those blue flowers. The highlights of this will make the shape of the little clusters.
Ah.
Aren't those lovely?
Yeah.
I like painting little landscape paintings. Tapping up and down. when you understand these principles, then you can come back through with like trompe brushes and like do big walls with the same techniques in minutes. But you've got to understand the principles.
What was that you just said?
Well, you could come back through with trompe brushes.
What's that?
Those are decorative painting brushes, and you can paint big areas pretty fast. But that only works if you understand what it's supposed to be if you were just piecing it out. So these skills, they carry, they transfer. They will be of use. I like the blue flowers along the steps, don't you?
Yeah.
You can see how where you get these little things and you can, they're growing, whatever they are, these little forget-me-nots, these little magic blue creatures that are out in this forest. They're growing clearly. And you can really, really see them happen. Now I'm going to get my, I'm going to take a sip of my thingy, and I'm going to get a detail brush if I have one somewhere. I need to find a very small detail brush. It'll give me a nice point. I don't know where I am on washing, so I'm going to use this little tiny one. This is my 3/0. And I'm going to get my brown. I'm going to come here and I'm going to make some curls. I thinned it with water. Thinning with water, just my burnt sienna. Maybe a little one curling over here. Another curl there. Get into any of my yellows. Orange if I can. Orange is really wonderful because it's so bright. Even when it doesn't seem bright, it's bright.
Yeah.
Like the little dots that are these are like fern blooms. This is how the fern like replenishes itself in the forest. So
it is kind of cool.
They are these incredible curlicue textures. And you can play with those as structural elements in your landscape. When I get those all done, I can come into my yellow. And get little dots in. Little dots, dotting, 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 dotting. Dot, 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 dot. We're going to be back tomorrow with the most three-hoot fantasy landscape. I don't know that I think we've done.
The hootiest tootest?
The hootiest hoot. Now, I am going to, because my palette's kind of a hot mess, well, I think I'm okay. I'm going to get into my zinc and my yellow and kind of create a transparent little bit. I might even use my detail brush with it, as you do, because we need some glows, don't we?
You do need some glows.
We need some glows. Glows need to happen. So let's put some. Let's put some little things here. Some little glows here and there. The first thing that you're going to want to do is you kind of put these little spots, and then you may want them to have kind of like some radial energies you're painting them. Sometimes I've got to get back into this. Just coming through, and you put some glows here and there. You can have a little glow over your ground.
Glow everywhere.
You want it to be transparent. So what I have here, because I use the zinc, it's very transparent, and I'm kind of just trying to
What are you trying to do there?
create this sort of starbursty effect with the glow. I'll come back with some more white fluid paint, but I've got to get that in first. And then I can come back in with the white. And it's the contrast of the two that'll make the effect work.
Make it really stand out.
Yeah, it can be a little challenging if you're not familiar with doing it. But once you get the hang of it, you're like, oh, I glow all the things. Glow all the things.
Glow them all.
There are fairy sparkles everywhere.
That makes sense.
They keep going up the steps, sir.
Uh-huh.
You know, and sometimes in the digital sketch, I'll glow more than I will in the painting, because in the digital sketch, you know,
Glows happen.
glows, they're real easy to put out. They really are. Make sure some of your glows are big and some are small, because I guess in the fairy court, we have different power levels. You know, so can't have all the same size glows. This would also be, if you are a very big fan of Studio Ghibli, this would be a great place to put the little mushroom dude heads.
Oh,
the little doggle heads.
Those are the forest spirits.
Forest spirits would be a really nice landscape for forest spirits, just saying. So to get those base glows in, I'm going to treat myself, I tell you, to fluid paint. And this is, I'll show this to you, this is golden fluid acrylic, and it's very nice because it's highly pigmented and it's very brushable. It makes nice fine lines, and it's really great for this type of work. If you can't get this, guess what else works? Deco titanium white craft paint in the Americana line. All right.
All right.
Come here with the detail brush still going. Dot the center. And also add some radial line. Like anything else, you got to paint this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Adding little other white dots helps kind of inform the sparkliness of this.
Very informed.
Come through. It's same thing everywhere. Tomorrow we're doing the owl, mushroom, toadstool. Like, oh my goodness, it's like a fantasy extravaganza. I think it's the most fantasy I've done. I don't know. You guys will have to tell me. Is it the most fantasy? I don't know.
I think it's pretty awesome.
Well, John liked it. He was like, it's owl, it's fall, it's a tree, it's just all the things. And there's a toadstool. Well, goodness gracious. And see, we're just kind of creating this little sense of work.
You've almost sparkled out.
I'm sparkling it up. Fun to sparkle. And if ever I need to, I can always go back into like something like my yellow. Right?
Yep.
Look. You can keep painting it, so you can keep working with it till it is what you want it to be.
Gotcha.
Or your glowy sparkles. Just adding little sparkles. And then could go up here and climb the steps.
Yeah.
As they do.
They do.
Glow, 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 glow.
Hmm.
Just glowing.
Yeah.
Just pulling the glow out. Little lines radiating out. It's been a week.
It's very
Stumbling
cute.
late into the party, says Lindsay. This is stunning. Yeah, we're doing this a lot because it's been a week.
Mm-hmm.
And we figured we couldn't be the only ones having a week. So we thought, oh, we'll just create this little safe zone, especially, online.
We appreciate you guys joining us.
Thank you so much for being here today.
It's
So
very
grateful
nice.
for you guys' presence and support.
So wonderful to see you guys.
I feel like I have more I can do with the glows. So I'm gonna.
Do more glows.
I'm going to do more with the glow that I have.
Do more with the glow.
I'm going to take a little of my green and my zinc. That's pretty transparent. I'm going to see if I can't. There we go. Create that radial glow. You can see how that circling then brings it back into that space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Creating these focal glows, in my mind, this creates a fairy court.
Oh, yeah.
Right? In my mind, it's creating a fairy court. And, and that is what really puts the cherry on the cake of this is a fantasy space.
Yeah.
Tammy says that she's looking forward to doing owls and mushrooms and all that because those are her favorite things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a favorite things painting. If you guys want to share your version of any of this week's paintings or any of my tutorials in general, we have a group on Facebook, and you can also share your images on our website, www.TheArtSherpa.com. If you want to get a text notification, you can sign up for those, and we notify you directly when we're live, which this time of year is kind of a big thing because we do, we do the 13 days of Halloween. We've got the 7 days of gratitude now. We've got the 12 days of Christmas coming up. It's really just a lot of winter paintings. And so those things are coming up, and you can be notified when this big time of year is happening. Creating those little, you have that little hint.
Yeah.
Creates a sense of like magic radiating out. All right, I like it.
I do too.
I very, very much like it. I'm super happy with what's happening. Maybe add some little highlights, little rocks, moss here.
Little mossy rock.
Yeah, you see that and you just go, oh, you could use a little bit of color there. You can always do that. You can just come back and be like, hey, you need a little bit of color. And it'll be like, I did. I need a little color. And that's just what I mean. Like when I paint on my own and I'm not talking, well, I mean, I'm still talking. I talk to myself a lot too. But when I paint on my own, very often I will just spend a lot of time with something and, come back and look at it and come back and look at it. And so things can take a while just because I'm spending a minute with it. Red Rusty Car says, cheers to the safe zone.
I agree.
We all need a safe zone. Creativa Modimo says, now I need some acrylic. Well, we've got watercolor lessons too, if you have watercolors. And then Anita's like, can you also get a reference from Paint by Number?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't really.
Do you want us to make a paint by number, or can you use a paint by number to use as a reference for a painting?
If you stay tuned, we're going to have more coloring book and traceable stuff happening. So
yeah. So that could always be good. I think this is great. Let's give this a sign. Let's give this a signature, shall we?
Seems like a good thing to do.
Make a light gray. Tomorrow's going to be 8x8 surface again, acrylic, and then Sunday will be watercolor. We had that watercolor to make up, so we ended up going to the 8th instead of the 7th because we had that power outage.
BJ was asking, when will you have soap available? And it may be today. I have to go check. We had a bunch of soap that we finished up, and it's going in the stores just as a matter of we have to get it listed. So on our website, TheArtSherpa.com/shop, you should be able to find some of that stuff here pretty quick. Certainly by this weekend.
All right, guys. There it is.
There it is.
Fantasy landscapes.
Yay!
Love them. Can't really do them wrong. Right? Because it literally is your world. And you can see how the layers, how these little peaks of things, how that builds up, that we use those regular landscaping principles, but we create these like super intense, worlds that we can live in. Tomorrow, we've got a really, really intense world we're going to live in, and we're going to get really deep into autumn. Like this was many seasons that we're saying is autumn. It's a magical unicorn spot, so we can do that. But tomorrow is like autumn. Autumn at the Gnome House. Sadia Kennedy said 3 hoots on an 8x8 are really hard for me because we go bigger. So like for my turntable, the 8x8 is kind of a constraint. But the thing about doing a square is the relationship of placement of all objects remains the same. Right? And so you can scale up on a square the easiest of all canvas sizes. You can go 8x8, you can go 10x10, you can go 12x12, you can go 20x20, 40x40 very easily. But the amount of space on a 40x40 that takes up steps is the exact same. It's always the same. Your surface is just bigger. So that's why I started doing the 8x8s, because it was the easiest for you guys to scale up or down as you need it. And so, yes, scale up, go big, share with us in group, because we want to see your big version of this painting so much. I love doing big versions of the paintings. Guys, be safe out there. Be good to yourself. Do self-care. Be good to each other, because we are in this together. I want to see you and an easel really soon.